Hello and welcome to another session on Ways with Words. We will start the poem today. Robert Frost is a highly acclaimed American poet, and in fact his realistic depiction of the New England, or his realistic depiction of the rural countryside of America is very delightful, and in fact his poems are mostly to do with the human tragedies of fears, of stories of life, and also hard work. His poems, the very important theme in his poem is his strong and a powerful admiration of rural life. Now you have important poems like Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, Birches, Mending Wall. All these are his well-known poems. A Roadside Stand presents the lives of poor, deprived people with pitiless clarity and with deepest sympathy and humanity. And this is also a part of the collection A Further Range. This poem is taken from A Further Range. So let's start the poem. Now, before we begin, have you ever stopped at a roadside stand? Have you ever purchased anything from a small vendor or a roadside stand? If so, what have you observed? I want you to ponder on this question for a minute and think about various people that you may have seen while driving past in your cars, in your bikes, in your cycle, or while going to school, or in the bus at least. So have you seen people selling these either vegetables or fruits, the local vendors, the roadside stand vendors, or people selling umbrellas, selling mobile stand while you are held up in traffic? What have you thought about them? Don't you think we are certain times, or most of the times, very insensitive to them? When we stop at a traffic signal, we have seen small children and migrant workers rushing to us, to our window, and asking us to purchase something from them. They are not begging, right? They are not asking for for charity. They are not asking for free money. They are selling us something, and thereby they want to earn a livelihood, or they want to earn their daily bread. But we often consider these things that are sold by them as cheap, as worthless things. In fact, we would go to a mobile shop and we would get a mobile stand, say for 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees. We are ready to pay as long as it is from a branded company. But the same thing, perhaps not the same quality, but similar thing is what they also sell. But we do not buy it from them. We consider them as cheap. Maybe it is just 300 rupees or 200 rupees, but even then we are not ready to part with this money, saying that it is a loss for us. But have we ever thought this 300 or 200 rupees would perhaps help them to buy food, to buy rice or vegetables that would keep them from poverty, that would help them that would help them from starvation? We don't think all those things. In fact, we consider them as, we see them as the other. We see them as criminals, or we see them as people who are not to be respected or even to be believed, trusted, right? We don't think about the situation as to what made them come here. They are migrants. They have come here to Kerala, or they have come to various parts of the state from other states of India, selling something. We have not asked, or we have not even thought for a moment as to what would have been the situation that would have led them to sell these things. Well, the whole poem is actually about this. It's against urbanization, and it's the growth of cities or towns, and the whole poem is against it, the growth of the cities at the cost of the villages. So here also we have the poet with a poem. One of his favorite topic, a strong and popular topic, that is his adoration for the for rural population. Frost believes that, see, this is written during the First World Wars, or during those world wars, the period of world wars, the 1930s, the 1920s and 30s. So it was a time when the whole world was developing. Modernism is on the high, and the whole every countries were developing. America was becoming a superpower and a developed nation as well, developed country as well. So Frost believed or felt that soon this rural population is going to be obliterated completely, destroyed completely, and they're in the place where these villages or the countrysides, all these countrysides and the villages will soon become towns and cities. So he also tells us the past, about the bygone days where farming population was wealthy and very contented and very prosperous. But now, as times went by, the city is beginning to grow. The growth of urbanization has led to the a situation where the farming is now considered not a good profession, or not considered a profession that would not suit a person who wants to live a life to the fullest. That is, farming is not a productive or profitable business, and therefore people are moving away from this profession. And the farmers, or he looks at the farmers and he finds them poorer and poorer, and the rich becoming, the people in the living in towns and cities becoming richer and richer. And he also looks at the tax. We all pay tax, right? So, but all the wealth, where is the wealth now? The wealth is all concentrated or found in cities, and this diminishing wealth and the diminishing wealth in the cities, in the rural areas, and the importance of farming that is declining, coming down, is what Frost concentrates on, and it is something that makes him very unhappy, and he expresses this unhappiness in his poem. In the poem, Frost compares several characteristics of people from the urban areas and the city and the rural areas, both the village areas and the urban areas. He feels that the people in the urban areas, people living in cities, that is the city dwellers, are very insensitive, very arrogant and very insensitive, and they don't care about the people living in the village areas. He also compares their lifestyle, the city dwellers, their lifestyle, to be very sophisticated and complex, which is in sharp contrast to the simple living of the farmers, the simple living of the rural countryside people. And the attitude also is very vividly portrayed by Robert Frost. So let's begin the poem. That much for the introduction. So we'll begin the poem. I'll just read the poem, the whole poem, and then we will discuss it line by line. Okay. Again, discussion line by line. I shall be telling you the words, the meaning of the words, because again this poem is very deep. It's a deep layered poem, and therefore we can't go, I'll be telling you a certain or I'll be telling you the summary, or I'll be explaining to you what it means. At the same time, I shall also be giving you hint to certain words, because using those words you will have to go a bit deep into the poem. You will understand that several things, I may not be explaining everything, but each word, these words will open new meaning and new interpretations as you read on. So I shall be explaining both line by line as well as I'll be giving you the gist of each stanzas. Okay, so let's read. The little old house was out with a little new shed in front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled, it would not be fair to say for a dole of bread, but for some of the money, the cash whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint, the polished traffic passed with a mind ahead, or if ever aside a moment, then out of sorts of having the landscape marred with the artless pain of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong, offered for sale wild berries in wooden quads, or crook-necked golden squash with silver warts, or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money this grossly and go along? The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint. So much for the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. Here far from the city we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the life of the moving pictures promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be brought out and mercifully gathered in, to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore, while greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated to suit them out of their wits, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain, the sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer. For the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are, and one did stop, but only to plough up grass in using the yard to back and turn around, another to ask the way to where it was bound, and another to ask could they sell it a gallon of gas. They couldn't, this crossly, they had none, didn't it see? No, in country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. Or so the voice of the country seems to complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain, and then next day as I come back into the sane, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. So this is the poem. The poem is a free verse. If you look at the rhythm, it has a rhythm, but again it's quite different from the rhyme schemes that we had in sonnet 29 and all. There is a rhythm, but it is in free verse. So free verse means the lines are not equal, right? And you will also find a lot of enjambments. Enjambments means ഒരു സെൻറ്റൻസിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഭാഗം കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക, ഒരു ലൈൻ കംപ്ലീറ്റഡ് അല്ല, അതിൻ്റെ ആ പകുതി ഭാഗം അടുത്ത ലൈനിലേക്കാണ് തുടക്കം, അതിൻ്റെ കണ്ടിന്യൂവേഷൻ അടുത്ത ലൈനിലാണ്. അതിനെയാണ് എൻജാംമെൻ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സോ ദിസ് ഈസ് എ ഫ്രീ വേഴ്സ്, written in free verse, and we will start and analyze the first stanza or the first 4 lines of the poem. Better we go line wise. Okay, so the first 4 lines of the poem. In the first line, the little old house was out with a little new shed in front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. So there is a little house, and next to this little house you will find a little shed, and this little shed is new compared to the old house. So we understand that the old house, from this old house we understand that the person who has put out this little shed, or the owner of this old house, little old house, look at the description that is given to you, the adjective that is used, little old house. So the adjective little and old suggests that the farmer is not a rich man, but not a rich wealthy farmer, but instead he is a simple and a small time farmer. So the little old house, is suggestive of the ancestral family house, perhaps the family house. Okay, and out of this family, very much next to it, he has this small time farmer, and his wife has put out a shed, a new shed, and it's relatively new. It's a new shed. Okay, and this new shed is how does it look? Where is it put out? It is put up where it is put up next to, they have made it, or they have constructed it, or they have extended it very much next to this highway. So it stands at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. So from that word traffic sped, we understand it is a highway. So the little old house, there is a little house, the old house, a family house, and in front of the family house you have a small shed, a new roadside stand, and it is put out at, or this stands in a highway, at the edge of the highway. Okay, and there is a reason as to why this man has put out put up a roadside stand there, and the reason is farming is their profession. Farming അവരുടെ പ്രൊഫഷനാണ്. പക്ഷേ ഒരു എക്സ്ട്രാ ഇൻകം കിട്ടാനായിട്ട്, ഒരു എക്സ്ട്രാ എമൗണ്ട് കയ്യിൽ വരാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് they have put out a roadside stand so that they can earn a little more money. Okay, a little more income. All right. So apart from their farming, all right. So they have the stand is standing, there is a stand outside their family house, and they are waiting for customers who pass that highway. Remember, again, this is the 1930s, the 1920s and 30s, where cars are normally owned by people who are rich, only the haves and not the have-nots. So when Frost speaks about people and cars and city dwellers. It's all about those who, or about the rich people, okay, and the haves and not the have-nots, not the poor people. So here he is, the farmer is waiting for the customer who would be passing that way. It's a highway, and therefore highways are ones that connect one city to the next city, and there they are waiting for this people, these city dwellers. They would find this roadside stand, and in the roadside stand they would have, you know, offered for sale. It is there in the poem. They have offered wild berries, and fruits and vegetables are kept there, and they are waiting for a customer to stop and buy a purchase from them. But unfortunately, they don't stop. These people, they just don't care about these roadside stand. They just speed past, or they just go past this highway. They are unmindful of even the existence of of this roadside stand. They don't even care. They just drive past, and they don't buy anything from this roadside stand. ഇത് നമ്മൾക്ക് തന്നെ നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ വഴിയോരത്ത് ഈ പേരക്കയൊക്കെ വിൽക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ, അവരേനെ നമുക്കൊരു റോഡ് സൈഡ് സ്റ്റാൻഡ് വെൻഡേഴ്സ് ആയിട്ട് വേണമെങ്കിൽ കണക്കാക്കാം. അവരിങ്ങനെ ഓരോ സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ നമ്മൾ കാണുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ചിലരുടെ അടുത്തുനിന്ന്, അറ്റ്ലീസ്റ്റ് ഒരാളുടെ അടുത്തുനിന്നെങ്കിലും വാങ്ങിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, ഒരുപാട് പേരുണ്ട് പക്ഷേ എല്ലാവരുടെ അടുത്തുനിന്നൊന്നും വാങ്ങിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല, പക്ഷേ ഒരാളുടെ അടുത്തുനിന്ന് അറ്റ്ലീസ്റ്റ് നമ്മളൊന്ന് വാങ്ങിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ വി ആർ ആക്ച്വലി ബിക്കമിങ് വെരി കൺസിഡറേറ്റ്. ഈ പേരയ്ക്ക ആയാലും ആപ്പിൾ ആയാലും ഓറഞ്ച് ആയാലും നമ്മൾ ഇപ്പോൾ ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഇഫ് യു ഗോ ടു ബിഗ് സൂപ്പർ മാർക്കറ്റ്സ്, other big supermarkets in the shopping complex that is there inside the shopping complex, inside the refrigerator, kept very clean and neat, we would buy them from these supermarkets instead of buying these things from these roadside vendors or roadside people. That's basically because we have been constructed to believe that the ones that are sold in these supermarkets are fresh, they are germ free and all those things, whereas we think that the people who sell the roadside stand or the roadside vendors who sell these things, that is not fresh, that's of cheap quality, and you never know what all pesticides they would have put on it. But the reality is that there are certain places, especially ഇപ്പോഴൊക്കെയാണ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പെസ്റ്റിസൈഡ്സും അതും ഇതൊക്കെ ഉപയോഗിച്ച് തുടങ്ങി. പണ്ടത്തെ ഈ സ്മോൾ ടൈം ഫാമേഴ്സ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അവർ ഏറ്റവും അതായത് നമ്മളുടെ വീട്ടിലുണ്ടാക്കുന്ന പോലെ തന്നെയാണ്. അതിനകത്തൊരു പെസ്റ്റിസൈഡ്സ് ഒന്നും ചേർക്കാതെ, ബിക്കോസ് ദേ ആർ സ്മോൾ ടൈം ഫാമേഴ്സ്. പെസ്റ്റിസൈഡ്സ് യൂസിങ് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ദീസ് ലാർജ് ടൈം ഫാമേഴ്സ് ഹൂ യൂസ് ദീസ് പെസ്റ്റിസൈഡ്സ് ആൻഡ് അതർ things because they cannot incur loss, whereas the small time farmers on the other hand, they have a connect with nature and the product that or the agricultural product that they cultivate or they harvest, adu aittu do connect und appo they never will give us things that are rotten or contain poisonous things. In fact, we could better buy from these people than buying from the high very expensive supermarkets. Anyway, here also we find the same attitude that we have, the similar attitude that in the city dwellers. They are unconcerned, unmindful and insensitive towards the plight of these roadside vendors. They don't want to buy anything from these roadside people because they think that it is worthless and not good enough. Okay, their kind of sophisticated, very insensitive nature is vividly portrayed. So there is this roadside stands. There is next to a little house, and a family, a small time family has, or farmer has put up this roadside stand next to the, or at the, on the side of the highway, with the hope that they would be able to sell something, and especially to this big stream of passengers that go past in their cars headed out from the city. Compared, now next line, if you look at the next line, a roadside stand that too pathetically pled. So there is a kind of contrast, again there is a contrast between the fanciful cars that go past this highway and the look or the feature or the look of the roadside stand. Now when you compare these two, that is the roadside stand with the fanciful cars, it is like you have the Mercedes Benz and then the roadside stand, which doesn't look good, which is very ugly, which is pathetic. It looks very pathetic. So the roadside stand appears to be crude. ഈ ടാർപ്പായൊക്കെ കെട്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കുഞ്ഞ് തട്ടിക്കൂട്ടൊരു കുഞ്ഞൊരു റോഡ് സൈഡ് സ്റ്റാൻഡാണ്, ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു കട. അതും ഈ പോകുന്ന വളരെ ലക്ഷൂറിയസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫാൻസിഫുൾ കാറുകളൊക്കെ വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് അവിടെ ഒരു കമ്പാരിസൺ കൊണ്ടുവന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഹൗ ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുള്ളി ഫ്രോസ്റ്റ് ഹാസ് കമ്പയർഡ് ദ റിച്ച് ആൻഡ് ദ പുവർ യൂസിങ് ദീസ് ഇമേജസ്. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. So in that line he contrasts the fanciful compares and contrasts the fanciful cars that go past or come out of the city through this road with that of the roadside stand that appears to be very crude, and it seems to be imploring or requesting, pathetically pled. Now look at the word pled, pleading. Plead ചെയ്യാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ റിക്വസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാന്നാണ് അർത്ഥം. അപ്പോൾ pathetically pleading, it is as though it is pathetically imploring, requesting, please stop for a moment, look at our roadside stand, look at the products that we have kept for sale, and please be kind enough to buy something from us എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പോലെയാണ് അവിടെ ആ roadside stand നിൽക്കുന്നത്. Just like the ones that we see, the people coming with the mobile stand or the umbrellas trying to sell these things. Again Frost makes a point that the villagers are not asking for charity, they are not begging, they are not asking the cars, the passengers in the cars to stop and give money, free money. They are asking them only to buy something so that they can earn their bread by selling something to them. വെറുതെ പൈസ തരാനോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വെറുതെ കാശ് തരാനോ അല്ലാതെ അവർ ഭിക്ഷ ചോദിക്കുകയല്ല ചെയ്യുന്നത്. നേരെ മറിച്ച് അവർ കൾട്ടിവേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള, അവർ കഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട് അധ്വാനിച്ച് കൃഷി ചെയ്ത് അതിൽ നിന്നും കൾട്ടിവേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഈ സാധനം, ഹാർവെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഈ കുറേ ഫ്രൂട്ട്സ് ആയാലും വെജിറ്റബിൾസ് ആയാലും അങ്ങോട്ട് കൊടുത്തിട്ട് അതിനുള്ള ഒരു ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഫോർ ദ വർക്ക് ദാറ്റ് ദേ ഡിഡ് ദാറ്റ് ദേ ആർ ആസ്കിങ് സം മണി. So there again, how do we know that it is not charity, that Frost is making a point that it is not charity from this line? It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. Now what is dole? Dole എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, see ആ സമയത്ത് again we have to take into consideration the background of the poem also. Dole here is a reference to the payment, a free pension പോലെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഗ്രാൻറ്റ് എന്ന് വേണമെങ്കിൽ പറയാം, which was paid to people who were unemployed. അന്ന് ഗ്രേറ്റ് ഡിപ്രഷൻ്റെ ഒരു സമയമാണ്. ഓക്കെ, see ഫസ്റ്റ് വേൾഡ് വാറിൽ ജർമ്മനി തോറ്റു. Germany's defeat in the First World War, the whole Europe was drained of its resources. The whole Europe, the economy came crashing down, and thus there was a lot of unemployment. lot of poverty, lot of misery, and therefore this was the period of Great Depression. And hence, to help people suicidal നിന്നും അതേപോലെ തന്നെ ഒരുപാട് പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ക്രൈമിൽ നിന്നുമൊക്കെ രക്ഷിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് അൺഎംപ്ലോയിഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള യൂത്തിനും അൺഎംപ്ലോയിഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള എല്ലാവർക്കും the state would give an amount. It's like charity. Okay, an amount so that they can buy things which are essential for their daily needs, basic needs എന്നുള്ള ഒരു എമൗണ്ട് എല്ലാ മാസവും സ്റ്റേറ്റ് കൊടുക്കുന്നു അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഗവൺമെൻറ് അവർക്ക് കൊടുക്കുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഡോൾ ഓഫ് ബ്രെഡിൽ നിന്നാണ് നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാകുക. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഡോൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ചാരിറ്റിയാണ്. So it is a grant, free money grant given to those unemployed people because they do not have work, because they are jobless. So here Frost gives a clear-cut idea that here they are not jobless, they have job, they are working, they are hard-working people, and they are not asking for a dole of bread, they are not asking for charity, rather they have cultivated something and they want you to buy things from them, not for free. Okay, so that is the meaning. So you have Frost telling you very vividly that they are not begging or asking for money, they just want to earn their wages through hard work and not charity. Okay, so the poet, he urges the city dwellers or the rich people to have sympathy for the poor people. So that's with the first stanza or the first 4 lines of the poem. So with this we will end the video because we are now, I don't want to take the rest of it and then confuse you. So we'll go slowly, bit by bit. So lines 1 to 4 has been, I have explained lines 1 to 4. So here you have the poem begins with the depiction of a roadside stand that has been put up by a small time farmer, and his intention, what is his intention? His intention is to get the attention of the people or the passengers, the rich city dwellers who are heading past that way or heading past this highway, to make a purchase from them, to stop their cars and make a purchase from them. And he also insists, or he makes a sharp contrast with between the rich and the poor through using the image of the roadside stand that looks as though it is pathetically pleading or imploring the fanciful dandy cars that go past the city to stop and make a purchase. So there is a sharp contrast. He compares and contrasts the rich and the poor. The rich cars, the luxurious cars, with that of the roadside stand that looks very crude, that looks very pathetic. Okay, again he makes a point, he stresses on the point that they are not begging, they are not asking for charity, they are here, they have worked hard, and all they need is to sell these things that they have produced, and nothing more than that. So they just want, they are not asking for charity or they are not begging. So that's where we stopped, and he urges, the poet urges the city dwellers to have sympathy for the poor. Alright, so we will take up the next few lines in the next video. Till then, thank you and keep safe.